Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The final game, Group B, myself, Lyrical, as well as Capitalist. Cap, we were expecting a melee core there at the very end. They go with the Dusa for NP. Do you think that's the right move? How are you feeling about the drafts?
Well, we actually had our own little predictions on the side
true.
here, and I was like, Troll, Gabe, you were on the money. You said
PA.
it got banned
Throwing out
away,
daggers.
and instead we got a Dusa, which is one of the few range heroes that actually does take the most out of Empower, right? It's a big damage upgrade and you're hitting multiple sources. So it is kind of interesting. I do really like the Dusa in this lineup just because of the fact that I think if you look at this, right, NP like to play a slower game in the first place, but it does make a lot of sense. This is not like the IG Lina, right? This is a bit different. They're running a Lina with a safe lane lifestealer. This is a very early game focused lineup and does not extend very well into the late games. So NP are just looking to be able to play pretty defensively. Just having a big tanky core like Dusa sitting on the front lines and basically having this hero serve as a blocker, right? And Newbee aren't going to be able to take towers very easily with Medusa sitting in front and the rest of the team sitting behind him. So I think this kind of fits the way to be able to defeat Newbee's a very aggressive lineup that they've drafted.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting play, too, because SC, we think about the way that he's sort of progressed in the mids. Before it was like the flashy players, the Invoker, the Storm Spirit, running in, making plays. And now it's sort of changed over to more of these farming-intensive heroes. And if he does get a little bit too aggressive, maybe step out too early in the early laning phase, a Monkey King Boundless Strike into Lina Light Strike Array, that's a pretty easy way to pick him off. So he's going to need to make sure that positioning is on point. We have the Monkey King Courier coming out to start the shenanigans early on here, but I'm very excited to get into this one as a smoke play.
An early smoke, wrap up a delayed smoke to try and get in there and take that bounding rune and ideally get a first blood as well.
Looking for Eternal Envy. Kaka charging up, walking forward. The slow is there. They have the Arcane Curse as well. U9 going to get a couple hits, but the crush should dissuade. Well, any more action? Maybe not. Envy is going to go down. Faith found him, but this might end up being to their own detriment as Kaka is starting to drop low as well. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah,
one exchange already.
You get the 1-for-1, but it is the first blood going to Newbee. There's nobody blocking their safe lane, which does mean it's going to be very favorable for their aggro tri-lane. Creep Equilibrium should be in a pretty good spot. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if Envy was thinking about leveling Mana Shield as he got initiated on. Obviously, it's not ideal. You really want to be able to have your Mystic Snake out there. It's a good farming tool and a good harassing tool as well, but maybe, just maybe, could have saved his life if he used it early.
Oh my god, I pontificated for so long about it. SC Medusa. My goodness gracious, how embarrassing. But SC Lina indeed is going to be the one who's trying to find the kill. Still the same thing kind of applies that if it's Envy that's moving too far forward, you find a kill there and you help build that momentum.
It's okay. When you were talking about that, I thought you were referring to the Alchemist that they were drafting for him and stuff, and I was with you. You know, your overall storyline was correct. So this aggro Thailand, though, very smart by NP. It does leave them an awkward situation. I was about to say, Sand King should be able to do okay against Magnus, especially as Caustic Finale gets leveled up, but U9 really doesn't want to deal with an aggro Thailand in his face, so they're going to try and swap things up.
Monkey King again in the mid lane, onto Envy. The right clicks are there. Mana Shield, even though it's leveled, not going to help him. So this early aggression coming out from Newbee, already making plays.
Yeah, this Monkey King Lina combination. I know you're casting a different series, but at the time I was watching, it was the IG game where they ran this Lina Monkey King 2 times in a row, and it was really good. It just destroyed Evil Geniuses.
And so the thing I like too, that's Poor Man's Shield that he picked up for the Monkey King as well. So he can take a little bit of damage coming in from the creeps, and since he tends to be going in deep, almost near where the towers are.
Yeah, it'll definitely help out a bit. There's not much you need to get on Monkey King, just a little bit of tankiness and kind of good. So once he gets to like level 3, that's one of his big peaks. The early laning phase. He's already set SC off to a very good start. Envy Envy's like, yeah, he's died twice, but he will be able to recover, I think, in his laning phase. Medusa is just one of those heroes.
You're back under tower. Kaka taking some extra damage from it. I don't know if the poor man shield ended up doing too much there, but he doesn't end up dying after getting skewed back under tower by MSS. Bottom lane, KP already there and going to be able to bring down the Dazzle. Faith helping him out, but KP gets the salve, and that will mean he is able to escape.
Yeah, it looks like NP, they tried to get aggressive and kill Faith's face silencer and just couldn't quite finish him off. And then because of that, he turns around and gets that last word onto 1437. Unable to use the Shell of Grave on himself as a result. Magnus is going to be very happy with all the farm that he's getting. NP, even if the Deuce is having a bad game, MSS is off to a great start, and I think MSS is one of the big reasons that NP is such a successful NA team. This guy is a fantastic offlaner, and if you get him a strong start, and I think that's one of the complaints I've had about NP in the past, is that they are so reserved and defensive and pretty farmy on their other two cores. It kind of leads MSS out to dry sometimes when he's their big playmaker.
They have caught eyes onto Kaka here. With the bound to the strike, though, they should be able to create that little bit of separation. Yeah, I like the idea that they're sticking him here in the safe lane, making sure that he's able to get a little bit of farm, a little bit of help in from the Dazzle as well. But likewise, Newbee rotating a lot of heroes up there.
Yeah, I think what MP really wanted to do with their aggro tri-lane is put pressure on the Lifestealer, which is fantastic. Lifestealers are very dangerous here. We've talked about this time and time again, right? The Lifestealer is just not a hero you can fully counter. So they kind of try and stymie his early laning phase farm. But it's also, I think they wanted to be able to force Kaka into a try versus try scenario and not have this Monkey King moving around. But Newbee just kind of played it defensively. They just rotated with U9 whenever they could and kept Kaka ganking that mid lane over and over again. In fact, he's setting up once again as Lina's going to come back into the lane, see if they can get another gank on him. Lina's not quite level 5. Maybe they'll wait for one creep just for that extra bit of nuking power. Oh, miskill. Faith goes down in bottom lane.
Still, you know, you're seeing that there's just so many threats around the map. Even for NP, if they do just sit in that static laning phase down there, a Vengeful Spirit in combination with the Slaughter, that's a lot of damage that can come out. Does look like they're setting up for it again, going on to Eternal Envy. Creeps are there. There's a TP rotation in from Dazzle. It looks like that's all Newbee wanted to force.
Yeah, NP got the successful scan on the Monkey King as he rotated around on the left-hand side. So NP did kind of have the heads up. They're ready to go with the TPs. So as it is, NP, what they're really hoping to do with this lineup, I don't know, it's going to be completely on AUI and MSS to be able to do a lot with their Magnus Vengeful Spirit combination because they did do an aggro tri-lane, the supports are going to be a bit under-leveled. And I'm not sure if Slardar is going to be able to find the space to be able to get that quick of a Blink Dagger.
There are a couple of wards placed down there. I think that the one in the mid lane might have actually been, it's within sentry range if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is.
So that's going to be possibly 2 wards dewarded now by NP. Their vision is going to be pretty heavily hemmed in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, that sucks quite a lot because you really want to keep your eye on the Monkey King. It's why I see some teams like draft an actual scouting hero against Monkey. Dive onto Faith.
Going for him again. They're onto him already. Boundless Strike trying to keep him back, but the heal bomb's going to stop it. Now looking for the Solidar. They are going to be able to stun him up and bring him down.
1-for-1 trade-off. It's still like forcing attention. Like the fact that Monkey King is bottom lane is a win. As long as Envy doesn't die to SC here.
Oh, he just leveled up level 6, but he doesn't have the mana.
Yeah, unfortunately. He did, like, he was bottling through the tower hits and everything, but just couldn't quite get it fast enough.
Would have loved to be able to pick that up, but still Newbee forcing him out of lane. You see that right now, the Lina 25 and 13, it's having a great time compared to that Medusa. Mention the kills.
I think what NP are going to have to do quite a lot is protect their mid tower. It's one of Deuce's specialties, though, as a hero, because she does get so tanky once you get level 7 or 8. You have those higher levels of mana shield. Newbee, meanwhile, they need to find some ways to get those kind of deep ganks that catches NP off guard and transition into towers. They don't really have very good tower hitters. That is the one thing that's really missing for Newbee. They have a very aggressive lineup, but they don't necessarily have the, we win a team fight, we take, 2 towers and maybe a melee Rax. Like, it's not that kind of lineup.
Early swap. KP breaks it up. That's actually going to be a lot of damage down. They end up committing the grave onto the, well, Vengeful Spirit, but already dead is 1437, and they're going to take the Venge to boot.
Newbee, some early grouping up, not terribly surprising. Newbee are very good at making full rotations of almost their entire team. They're just leaving U9 right now up at the top lane. You want to get the Lifestealer enough time to get his armlet before he starts becoming more of an active force. And in fact, I would say in this game, he may even continue to farm until KP has his Blink Dagger. Because what Newbee need to do is they need to hit their timings really hard. They can't afford to mess up too much. Again, it goes back to the lack of tower hitters, is that they won't be able to quickly transition through objectives. So when they do get their timing, they have to oppress NP near flawlessly.
Well, and this is the trade-off right here, too, is that you bring all those heroes, you don't even manage to take down the tower, and Envy gets free farm as well as the ability to push out a lane here. Quill is turned on, SC is going to rotate back in and be able to push out the lane after the fact, but all this chip damage, it's good stuff for NP, as does look like SC is scouring out that ward. Although it did just expire the sentry, so they're going to need to bring on
another nuke out there. Envy doing a good job of trying to chip away at SC's mana to make sure he doesn't have a full wombo combo worth. So if he does, again, you can see Kaka's kind of waiting there. If he does get a surprise gank from the Boundless Strike from Monkey King, and it doesn't leave SC to be able to output his full course of damage.
So these first 9 minutes, Newbee a little bit ahead in terms of kills thanks to the Monkey King. You do feel, though, with this lineup that you need to make a lot happen early on, right? You can't just go into the late game on par with the Medusa and Magnus. Or would you disagree? You think that Newbee is okay?
It's definitely, NP should be very happy with the way late game goes. They have a big team fight ability in RP. They have a great scaling late game hero in the Medusa, and even Vengeful Spirit, Slardar, and Dazzle all scale relatively well into late game. These two supports actually do a lot in late game. The Constant Crushes and Corrosive Hazes, as well as like Shallow Grave and Weave are always valuable, even going into the mega lane.
Well, up here top, they're going to be able to find a kill onto Owie, so things going, again, more pickoffs for Newbee. Still questionable if they're going to be able to take a tower off of this, but it looks like that's what they're going to ever do next at the very least.
Yeah, SC deciding not to rotate back over to mid. He's leaving Faith to that right now. They want to get that global silence up. KP, let's see, he's level 6 right now, does have 600 gold. I'm trying to gauge what his Blink Dagger timing is going to be and whether or not he needs some extra help from the rest of Newbee.
In the area here, just everybody contesting this 3 stack of creeps that we've seen. Good disjoint there with the Sandstorm, so KP will not get gone on.
Yeah, Sand King's really good at being able to juggle big creep game stacks. Ooh, this is global silence.
They've got MSS in the area as well. They might try and turn this. There it is. They're going to be able to drop the RP. Can they find any more, though? SC very low. Will they be able to find that kill? He's walking away. Skewert is going to manage to take him down. So they take 2.
That global silence. MSS just sitting there with his invis. He's like, come on, come on, come on. You should spam the R button. But they did not have the damage, or they at least weren't fast enough with the damage to be able to finish off the Medusa in time. And a big turnaround play there from NP. NP, I think this is what they usually win games off of. They play pretty defensively, and they know how to occasionally set up these big reaction plays. So when the enemy team gets aggressive on them, they're able to just kind of either outnumber them or outposition them.
Speaking of outnumbering them, NP need to be a little bit careful as everybody from Newbee TP down there. It did look like one of those TPs got canceled. So
yeah, I don't like this mass TP usage too much by Newbee. I think it is one of the big strengths of theirs in the laning phase, but as we're starting to get out of that, and we also know that NP is going to be splitting up and trying to out-split push them for a large part of this game, these mass TP usages really killed Newbee's mobility around the map, especially since the TPs did receive that nerf recently, upping the cooldown another 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's something to think about. When they were in their heyday, you know, dating back to right before the Manila Major, it was all about that mass rotations. And we'll have to see if they can adjust their game plan or possibly even just, you know, make better usage of the initial movement from the map to put them in a position where they don't have to respond in that way. But a smoke gank moving in towards the bottom lane does not look like NP is going to run into anybody of consequence as pressure mounts towards this tower.
Yeah, they would have liked to get the, like, this is a classic smoke into safe lane to try and get the pick and turn it into a tower kill, but Newbee know enough about this game that this late, the safe lane tower is kind of a death trap, and they don't want to be around that area too much. So at this point, like past like 10 minutes, and the tier 1's still up, the only heroes that are going to be there are the disposable ones. You know, like a 4 or 5 position support that just wants experience or something like that. You'll never have a big core kill down there unless it's backed up by multiple heroes.
Yeah, well, Envy is still around here, which is maybe a little bit scary, but it looks like Newbee are not wanting to try and go deep for that one, at least for now. There's a lot of vision in the dire jungle right now with these observer wards in the area, so maybe they're going to be able to make something happen. Like, Envy is completely exposed in this jungle, nobody nearby at all. He does realize that there's a couple of Newbee heroes in the area as Sand King was spotted, but
yeah, Newbee want to be able to see the potential rotations by NP to defend a safe lane tower if they choose to do something like that. Obviously, they just got to read that Dazzle is now behind the Medusa, and they also want to see the Medusa when she's rotating from mid into jungle and leave a potential opportunity for SC to get aggressive there. And obviously needs more than just him, right? The Medusa is tanky enough; he can survive through that blast.
And threw the weave on him there as well, just to make double sure. There's still a lot of movement by Newbee, but not a whole lot happening over these past couple of minutes. It feels like all of their moves have either been countered or they've met that impenetrable wall of Medusa that can't really do anything to. Do you think there's a problem?
You're going to be punished even more pretty soon. Envy's going for this build, the Blade Mail build on Dusa. I think I've seen this before from Envy. I think he just really likes the stats. If you look at it, like every single one of those stats is value. You're never going to get bursted down entirely by magic damage. So the armor has value. Obviously, the intelligence is good for more mana pool. And then the early bit of damage is something that Dusa is often lacking, right? Because you see these Dusas and they go Manta or Linken's, or in case of Mushi, Manta and Linken's, and you just have no damage whatsoever. So I think it's like a nice source of early output for Envy. And then, you know, it's just another way to dissuade the enemy team from going on you.
Absolutely. And you talk a little bit about the extra damage buff that you get from the Magnus. Things are going to start to look at least not like a completely useless hero through the first initial phases. Not to mention you also have Stone Gaze, which is super value in a team fight. So how does Newbee try and deal with this then? Is it just focus on every other hero? Because it feels like this is a lineup that wants to be hitting its stride pretty quickly here.
Yeah, it's, again, it goes back to that, like, they have to hit their timing really hard because of the way they drafted themselves, and they didn't really give themselves an out for late game. And they're going against a very defensive team in NP. What and Newbee have to do here is make sure they get every single one of their items for these cores where they reach the real big peak. So like Bloodstone on Lina, Blink Dagger on SK, Armlet, and not Echo Saber looks like an earlier Deso for U9. Get those items and then just lay into NP over and over and over again. You really just have to keep up a very high tempo game. Because what they're doing right now is you see this early game, right, Gabe? And you see, like, these heroes should be getting aggressive, but what Newbee are afraid of is failing to actually connect well enough. Inconsequential kill there on Dazzle, but it will probably get that tier 1.
It actually is kind of interesting, too, because the Lifestealer decided to go for a Midas before finishing off the Death, so he just had it delivered to him on the Courier. So I guess that it's, you know, hit that second item pretty hard as well. As looks like Monkey King's going to be able to TP out of there. As
maybe if, well, they need to kind of start moving towards Eternal Envy right now.
This is a wraparound that they've got, possibly.
Oh no, they missed.
The Burrow Strike was not there. SC trying to run away. The Crush connects on the two of them as the Lifestealer jumps out, and it does look like they're just going to try and back out now.
Well timed by NP, and they may still have the, because the Infest Bomb is gone, they could still take this tier 1 tower.
Magnus has his Blink Dagger as well. Sand King obviously has completed his. up on the high ground. Epicenter is ready, is going to burrow. All the charge, at least for the moment. That's the blade mail down. Monkey King ulti as well. The global silence to follow. They are going to be able to bring down Envy. But won't be able to go for any more. I still think that's very much worth it.
Yeah, it's like a lot of ultimates used. The global silence is a particular one, but Envy is the most important hero on the side of NP. So it's not a bad fight for Newbee. I don't think it's terrible for NP either. They got that mid tower. They're not going to lose any big objective off of this. The rest of their team is still going to be able to farm up at this point. So Newbee they're grouping up, but I don't feel like they're getting an amazing, like a whole lot done. And I think this does kind of lead into U9's thoughts of going to Hannah Midas, right? Is he's trying to give this lineup of theirs that doesn't have a whole lot of longevity, some added benefit thanks to the items. It's kind of covering that weakness.
You also see here the Bloodstone just finished, and I mean it's quite it's a pretty decent timing, I would say, on it relative to where their team is at. They're ready to start fighting continuously as that Boundless Strike hits. And I mean, do you think that it's that big of a deal that he went for the Midas right now? Would you have rather him had like a Deso and then start moving around, or is it?
It's more about how the team feels the game is going. I think that it's a little bit of individual player preference, but it's also about like, what have we accomplished so far? And I would say Newbee haven't accomplished a whole lot in progressing the game real quickly. Oh, nice pick on Monkey King.
Yeah, that's going to be an easy one. Kaka didn't drop.
So again, I think it comes back to we're not on our trajectory to be able to close out this game when we really should be our strongest. Like, it's going to be kind of hard to hit that window. So let's make sure that we do scale well enough into 40, 45 minutes. Because Lifestealer still Lifestealer is still a big threat 50, 55, 60 minutes in. It's just unfortunate that Dusa is the antithesis to Lifestealer.
Absolutely. And see that she is actually going to go for the Midas as well. So picking up a little bit of the Chinese flavor. This is what we saw going into the tournament, absolutely. And it's dropped off a little bit, but still very much impactful.
I like this choice by SC. I was looking at this. I don't think NP is going to give a whole lot of opportunities for a Shadowblade pickoff for SC. We've seen this over and over again, Bloodstone, Shadowblade. I think this game, much better to try and transition into that right-clicking Lina that we were talking about a little bit earlier. So instead of the Shadowblade, he's going to pick up the Force Staff a bit earlier. Not sure if it's going to be the full Hurricane Pike. I also don't know if like Aghanims is still the pickup for him. I'm not sure.
Meantime, Newbee are looking to find a kill. Does not look like they are going to be guessing in the right decision.
I believe Faith is also going Hannah Midas.
All right,
he's got 1,700 gold, and Silencer is a scaling support that kind of turns into a core late game if you can find that farm. So,
all right. If they do get all these Hannah Midases online, does that outscale the Medusa?
No, it doesn't. It's still like NP will still have this hard lock on late game, I believe. But what it does mean is that the game is no longer over. Let's say at 45 minutes, it's now over at 60 minutes for Newbee. Like because they have these Hannah Midases, it gives them. They're not able to be as aggressive and as effective right now here in the moment, but they will be more effective at 35, 45 minutes because these heroes have an extra like 5k gold on.
And, you know, Cap, we were watching that game yesterday, the LFY series, I remember, and it kept on feeling like you have a strong window and then you miss that window. You don't take that chance. You don't make the move. Is that something that you'd be at all worried Newbee getting into trouble with?
No, Newbee's not an LFY team, right? Like they aren't making the moves right now that I would expect. Like, if I was in this position, I feel super pressured to be like, guys, what the hell are we doing? We got to run at them, right?
Yeah.
But I think Newbee is not the kind of team to get spooked. They're playing passive, but they have a plan for it. I didn't see a plan when LFY did it. I was just like, guys, you kind of need to do something now. Yeah. Newbee do have a plan with these Hannah Midases. I think they are going to get very aggressive. I would say 25, 30 minutes. They're going to reach a serious peak, many of their heroes. What again, first and foremost, I think NP's playstyle, because they play so defensively and they do oftentimes have better late game than the enemy team, what it does to other teams is that it puts pressure on them and they want to get aggressive, and that's when the mistakes start happening and positioning. NP punished that really well. Ooh, nice shallow grave in time.
All right, able to get that. Deuce is showing up as well. They're going to kill off the tower. MSS jumps forward, catches that RP, going to pull him back in as well. They have the Stone Gaze, going to use that. I was wondering if they were just going to skewer back instead, but they do end up using both of the big ultis for NP.
Lifestealer's still big targets, so it's kind of like the earlier time where they blew everything on the Medusa. It's kind of worth it just because those two heroes, Lifestealer and Medusa, are the most important heroes for each team. So they're looking at Roshan, not worth the risk. NP. There's still a low enough death timer on Newbee, and you also have that instant death timer on SC in the upcoming team fights, so they should not take that kind of risk. I would be very happy if I was NP where they're at. This is an interesting choice, though. Medusa is actually thinking about going for a Lotus Orb next to be able to purge off the silence. What he wants to make sure is that when they go on him, he's able to be able to take away that silence in some way and pop the Stone Gaze. Now, most people would say, okay, but that's what Manta is for, right? That's the Dispel. But he seems to have this idea. Again, it's a little bit of stats. It's better armor, maybe. But it's also, he's trying to make himself that it really hurts Newbee when they target Eternal Envy, right? They're going to have Blade Mail and Lotus Orb. You know that Lina is going to be throwing that Laguna Blade. When they go for this combination, Blink Burrow, Global Silence is used. Lina's going to use everything on that hero. He wants to try and make sure that Lina doesn't feel comfortable doing it.
So here's a question then. As the game goes on, there's so much armor and plus armor built up on NP. We're going to have to hold that thought. Roshan is going to go down and be thinking about going for this. The Boundless Strike. It's Newbee that might be the ones that try and take the fight. There's going to be the Stone Gaze already out, but the Infest Bomb still waiting to pop out. They have not decided to go for it as of yet. Down. Nicely done. Pulling back in that Monkey King and taking him down.
That Stone Gaze was beautifully timed by NP. Now the swap.
Swap onto SC. He's going to be dead in a second, but there's the Burrow Strike and the Infest Bomb jump out. RP drops to turn it again. They are going to have Lina back in an instant here, though. U9 getting healed up again by the Bloodstone Death, and does look like the SVG stun. Almost able to bring down U9, but he was able to get the target off for a second. Still drops down with the Aegis. Silencer is going to die as well. Light Strike Array, but can they bring down this big tanky Medusa? Trying to run her out of here. Do have the open wounds, but the Force Staff's not going to be enough. They've been able to control the Magnus as well. Get the stun, mid-skewer away, is going to end up trying to TP out, but does die. So NP lose 4.
Remember that instant death timer that I was talking about for SC's Lina? It's hard to remember because it is a very new thing that you have to deal with as a team. NP, they won the initial fight, and then they kind of pushed out for more with that swap back and everything. They killed SC. The problem is that guy's going to come right back, and he definitely helped clean up that fight. He got off his Laguna Blade. He actually recovered all the Bloodstone charges that he lost from his initial death. So
it looked so good to start, but
yeah,
maybe
they get that kill, and they're like, they get a little ahead of themselves, I think, in some ways.
Yeah. I think that also the heal back up onto U9 gained him to full HP after the duration of the RP had ended.
Yeah. It's not a terrible fight for Newbee. It's absolutely not. Like, they were so close to being able to really wipe this fight, but NP, ultimately, I think it was kind of like a wash overall. They could have come away better if they just taken those like 2 kills and backed away, but still.
Do you even go for the Lina first? Do you just wait until the end to kill off Lina?
Well, it's not really up to NP most of the time. They're not really going to be the ones initiating for the most part. They're mostly going to be reacting to whatever Newbee does.
Need to react pretty quickly here. Eternal Envy getting gone on. Doesn't manage to get the Stone Gaze off in spite of that global being dropped, and now the jump forward ends up getting bashed immediately, which gives the rest of Newbee time to walk away from the RP. Burrow Strike connects onto 2, now trying to find more. Light Strike Array connects onto 3. 1437 trying to figure out who he wants to grave. He takes Howie's keeping him alive, but that means that Eternal Envy falls, and now he's gonna die regardless. Double kill, now taking more. They're all over NP. Newbee looking good.
Yeah, remember when I said you have to hit that timing really hard and just go, 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 right? They just won that, or they had that like back and forth in the mid lane, and Newbee immediately look for another fight because they're not really cooldown dependent. There's like Infest and Epicenter, Laguna Blades, what, 50 seconds because he's now level 19. It's really not much more than a minute for most of these abilities for Newbee just to kind of keep going again. So they made that aggressive play. NP again kind of got ahead of themselves. I think you'll watch, they get off a really good Monkey King ultimate, and Envy doesn't need help right here. But MSS still chooses to blink in alongside SVG, and they're going into a Monkey King ult.
That stun as soon as MSS jumped in as well. Really unfortunate, but nonetheless, it's looking quite good for Newbee at this point in time. Is there anything that they need to be really worried about? Maybe getting too over-aggressive, thinking about high ground, and then throwing away this advantage they've built, or do you think they're good to go?
No. They should absolutely be a little bit nervous about that. NP were winning probably the first 15 minutes of the game, I would say. Maybe even 20, just because you look at it even net worth, and I would say that's the advantage to do such strategy. But Newbee did have that plan, right? We're still waiting for them to drop that execution in the mid game, and you know, they have such good team fight heroes in so many ways to initiate and counter-initiate that we knew they were going to get hit really hard. And sure enough, all of a sudden, boom, that's their moment right there. They jump up to an 8K gold lead. What they have to make sure is that they just don't get ahead of themselves. They've got these hand of Midases. Remember, just, you know, you're going to be able to prolong your effectiveness in this game because of those pickups. So just start controlling the map first and foremost. Make that 8K gold lead into a 12K gold lead, 15K, just by controlling the map and limiting the farm for NP.
Likewise, though, you also hit level 20 with Lina, and that means you can siege from further away without putting yourself at risk. Attack range, damage, everything for her. 17 Bloodstone charges is building back now. Is that into Silver Edge completed as well? Yeah. This is looking pretty good. I think that probably just Roshan and then at least testing high ground, or possibly just going for a big smoke gank and if you get caught up, then you've got free access.
Kaka's also getting a Shadow Blade here. So I think they really just want to play off of controlling the game and seeing if they can win NP. They inevitably have to go for split push plays and that sort of thing. Try and catch them out. Once they catch NP outside of the base, then boom, that offers an opportunity for them to go high ground. I don't think Newbee will ever be in a position where they feel comfortable just 5-manning into NP while NP has 5 waiting on the high ground. I think that's just a little bit too risky. Okay. NP are not comfortable enough with this game position for them to just sit on high ground. They'll always have to push out, and Newbee are going to find pickoffs like this one.
There it is, right immediately onto Owie. Never had a chance as the Monkey King ultimate comes out, stacking those stuns together beautifully with that ward placed up on the high ground. I really do like the talents that Medusa has. She's just going to get that 600 mana one that she ended up going for at level 20, which does make her incredibly more tanky. But it still does run into this issue where what's this hero really going to do? Like, the damage you got from Blade Mail was nice in the early stages, but it's a little bit lacking. Maybe, I don't know. What's your thoughts?
As Medusa as a carry really doesn't become super scary until like 45 minutes. And even then, with Newbee's current net worth lead, I think they'll still be able to contest a Medusa at that point. So NP just, they got to buy time for Scotty to be picked up by Medusa, and then maybe he picks up a Butterfly, depending on, you know, item choices of Newbee at that point in time. But just try and build up. An AC could even be in his future. I'm not sure if other members of NP are going to be able to build one. That armor item would be rather effective versus this Lifestealer.
They've got so much forms of different armor. You've got the Greaves, you've got Dazzle Weave, Vengeful Spirit here as well, plus and minus abound. Just needs to find the correct fight for them, or I guess hold out as long as possible. So, controlling the map to the best of their abilities. You do see the Radiant Wards inside of the Dire jungle, but likewise, Dire been able to place down a couple Vision over their own jungle as well.
Yeah, they have some pretty good information, but you can see whenever they do farm like this, NP are pretty good about their positioning of their other heroes. You could see SVG right now, right? He's farming neutral, so he's still being efficient, but he's pushing forward to make sure that if there are smoke rotations across somewhere to gank the Medusa, he'll be the one who pops it first. lose your Slardar, it's not that big of a deal. And if nothing comes along, then SPG is still being efficient.
Yeah, they're sort of building a wall, encasing the Medusa to make sure that Envy does not get taken down here. And back to home, farming a little bit more. There was a scan down in the bottom. Radiant able to spot out that heroes were here. So seems unlikely that Newbee are really going to try and move all the way across the map to kill off these guys.
Because of the loss of those that big team fight in the bottom lane, NP lost enough tempo in this game and also enough of a net worth lead to Newbee's favor that I think NP actually have to try and go for a smoke gang push out, because this gem is going to be very problematic for them. With Newbee controlling most of the lanes and having better team fight possibilities, right, just because they have such good initiation, it means that NP is going to feel very crowded in, and they have to clump up a lot just because they have no vision down. They don't really know what Newbee's up to unless they're showing on map, shutting down a wave. So they need to take that gem away from the hands of Newbee. I'm just not quite sure how they're going to do it, like how they're going to set this one up. But I don't think they can just sit on their laurels and wait.
Well, they're all standing on boards right now as well, and immediately they jump onto the Medusa. Envy is just gone, and maybe gonna lose the Dazzle as well. 1437 getting right-click to death, will get a first hit bash. Not that it would have mattered anyways, but those are a couple kills that feel very painful at this stage.
Yeah, at the very least, they need to get a gem for themselves. If they don't take away the gem from KP, then they need to get a gem for themselves to make sure that when they do kind of split apart like that, Newbee aren't reading that, but thanks to aggressive boards like in their jungle that are currently there and seeing the opportunities for fast pickoffs. Pickoffs like that are kind of what kill your game, because now Newbee weren't able to feel comfortable going high ground before, but now they can take tier 3, they can force buyback.
Well, and this is a difficult question, too, because do you want to buy back on Medusa, kill your chance at farming? He's relatively close to the Scotty, and
I actually don't think he buys back. If you buy back, I don't think you ever recover as the Medusa.
A little bit wondering if Newbee were going to think about going for a second tier 3 there, but it seems that the choice is instead going to be take down these shrines, make sure that you establish further map control and dominance. Newbee running away with this one.
They certainly are. Boy, it happens so fast. Like I said, this is what it needs to happen, but Newbee they surpassed my expectations.
So another movement by NP, want to smoke out, see if they can catch somebody. Is all of Newbee sitting up on high ground though across the river. Then Ancient Black Dragon. All right, haven't seen him hanging out for a while.
I wonder why. Maybe he just wants to be able to have some sort of
breaking the
vehicle
smoke.
Yeah, maybe kind of like push out and make sure he can't really be jumped. There's no opportunity for like the smoke gang to come out, like for them to be able to RP Lifestealer and skewer him back because he's in a dragon.
Yeah. I think that smoke was read pretty well by Newbee. They knew that NP wanted something to happen, and so instead of holding out, you know, a support to dry, they instead send the Lifestealer inside of the Ancient. It does mean that there's not an Infest gank possible right now. Sort of a bit of a sad part of it, but
yeah, that kind of damage is not hugely impactful right now. Newbee are the ones who control the game. They just have to make sure they don't make a misstep. And NP, like, I would absolutely think that NP is feeling desperate, and that's where those kind of aggressive smoke pushes out comes from.
The Medusa probably feels very safe right now because the Scotty is done. There's, you know, weave on him as well, but maybe a little bit far away from his team. We'll see if they can get here in time to save his life. He's going to pop the Stone Gaze. Even Blade already goes out. Envy just going to be able to be force staffed away.
Stone Gaze used. This is a good opportunity for Newbee to try and catch.
See, looking for the kill. Burrow Strike onto one. Catching and killing 1437. Maybe going to be able to find more. Force staff to the high ground, but KP is wrapping around from the left side of the map. Kaka gets a bash. Is going to be able to find a Light Strike array. Another stun to follow. Magnus is going to die. NP lose 2, and there are no buybacks on those heroes.
Yeah, this could just be the end, just because the Stone Gaze is on cooldown for 60 seconds, and so is the Magnus. That RP is on cooldown for 60 seconds because of his death timer. So at this point in time, Newbee just barrel down the bottom lane, take a second lane of Rax. If they get any pickoffs, I think that's probably 3 lanes of Rax in the end of the game.
Look at Kaka, he's all the way back there by the space, and well, there's the jump forward. Gonna be able to catch the immediate counterplay, and the global silence dropped. Is not looking quite good at all for NP, as Medusa gonna be brought down here in just a second. I do believe Shrine is super value on Medusa, but not value enough, as Newbee came to play, taking down another. BKB pop for Aoi isn't gonna be there. Epicenter finds that kill, and GG is called.
Well played by Newbee. They read this game incredibly well. They just stayed very patient, waited for them to really hit their window with their mid-game action, just took it to NP really hard, and then they did everything they needed to control the game, right? They didn't